I wanted to come here because my friend Drea Humphrey's been covering it, and I wanted to show her support and see with my own eyes what I see. And it was really fun. She really is a little bit like the mayor of this place. Here's my conversation with Drea. We actually got up on this scissor lift, which is like a mobile elevator. Here's my conversation with Drea. Well, we're going up on the scissor lift, which is like a movable elevator, and it's to get a better view of the ostriches. Scissor lift.
What did you call it?
I called it a mobile elevator. I knew it's called a scissor lift. I may not be a country boy anymore, but I know a scissor lift.
By the way. So when I used to come here, Ezra, you could see tons of ostriches that would come here. They would visit with the people, they'd play, they'd mate. And now it's just so scarce. So they're not even with each other. They're not with their farmers anymore. They're separated from each other. This is supposed to be a humane operation. And it just doesn't look like that at all.
And the thing is, we don't even know what's going on because the CFIA's main exercise has been deception, to hide their activities either by cutting off surveillance cameras or by building giant barriers out of straw and hay. That's what makes this so weird. And I tell you, there's different theories about what's going on. Some of them I think might even be called conspiracy theories. And it doesn't help when the government refuses to be transparent and does super weird things like cutting off surveillance cameras. You know what? It looks like bad faith. When they came in with their hazmat suits from top to bottom, when nothing's sick and it was just for theater, you can't treat people like they're dumb. We've already lived through COVID. We've lived through the BS and the deception. It's like this government has learned nothing from the last 5 years.
Well, not only that, when they actually first came on day one, they weren't even wearing the hazmat suits, and people saw that. Yeah. People went online, wait, I thought they were sick, and then they're all head from toe. But you're right. What is the average Canadian thinking when, number one, everybody knows if an animal had a flu 10 months ago, they're not sick with that flu anymore. But number two, like you mentioned, the state is blocking the farm's cameras so that they can't see. That doesn't sit right with anyone. I
asked the RCMP about that. I said, that surely wasn't in the court order. That sounds like mischief. And they said, well, it's not our mission. I saw some of the CFIA cops in full hazmat suits blocking the farm's surveillance cameras. And I thought, what's that got to do with the health and safety of the birds? And if they're bringing in these no-tam rules against drones, I'm thinking, maybe a drone buzzing near a bird would upset it, but it seems to me like the Food Inspection Agency are trying to do something in the dark and stop people from seeing it. That's how it looks to me. Am I wrong on that?
So we'll go to the NOTAM. And a NOTAM is put in place for a police operation like this because we need to be allowed to have unfettered airspace. So we will put drones in the air, we will have potentially helicopters in the air, and we need to be able to operate safely. So that's strictly why the NOTAM is put in place. I can't speak to the questions about CFIA. So whatever business they're doing, that's questions for them.
Is there a spokesman for the CFIA here?
So they have their own comms team. I'm not sure. I don't believe they're here, but they're answering questions through their board.
In a way, you're sort of in a pickle because you're not the guys doing the dirty deed, but you're the buffer, and you're the ones most visible. I've only been here briefly, but I haven't seen any CFIA. Do they interact with the people here at all?
Well, they're operating within the
yellow
search zone, okay. So that's mostly where they're focused. And you are correct. We're the ones that are visible here. So it's important to understand that this is a CFIA operation. We're here simply to keep the peace, public safety, and if necessary, enforce the law.
If the owners of the farm tried to restart the surveillance cameras, would that be something that you would impede? And I haven't spoken to them about this. I'm just thinking, for protecting people from intruding in the zone, I understand the search warrant. It would be like a house that was a crime scene. There's yellow tape, do not enter. But when you deliberately take down security cameras, it's got nothing to do with a search warrant. That's got to do with being sneaky. Would you, as a police officer, stop the landowner from fixing those security cams?
What do you mean, to enter onto the property? So this is all under the property's secured now. It's under a search warrant.
Got it.
So
they could
go on without CFI approval. So, for example, one of the owners was allowed on the other day to visit one of the ostriches that's injured.
Right.
But that would be with CFI approval. So not something for us to really speak to.
Like I think the police are in a pickle because the police are here to protect the bureaucrats. Right. And I can't imagine the police are happy about that. Well, listen, Andrea, you've been covering this story really for months. And it's growing. I was in the States last week. People were saying, what's up with those ostriches? It's not as big as the trucker story was in 2022, but it feels like it's getting out there. It's so unusual. Why do you think this story has the legs that it does?
You're right. It's reached apparently Holland, China, and of course the U.S. has been big speakers to this issue. You know, they've been speaking out before many of the politicians who are in recent weeks. And I think what really at the core is everybody loves animals. Like most people actually just genuinely like animals. And you can't vilify these animals. You can't say they're far-right extremists like they did with the trucker convoy, or they're anti-mass, or whatever sort of rhetoric you want to use against them. And I think everybody has respect for farmers too, for the most part.
Right.
So you have that combination. And then it's just fascinating what's been entangled in this story, and it keeps increasingly so. So you have the grassroots, a lot of them the freedom sort of member, but then you have just regular people because of that issue. And then you have the trade issue coming in, and the science.
Yeah.
It's all wrapped
There's so
up in
many
one.
things. And also, where is this going? I never thought of it. If they can kill a farmer's ostrich for no good reason, they may kill your pet. And there's all sorts of, your pet is not good for climate change. Like, there's all sorts of anti-pet stuff out there. And I just don't understand what is it that's so burning in the heart of these bureaucrats if they won't retest these animals. Why? And that's what I think baffles a lot of people. Hey, tell me about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s role, because I think that surprised a lot of people. What's going on there?
Right. The Health Secretary of the United States, RFK Jr., as well as head of Medicare and the NIH, they've all come out and said that these birds are worth more alive than dead. Of course, they're seeing the opportunity in the science. So after 2020, the farm switched from selling them for food, and by the way, it's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency coming to Tilbury Farm.
Yeah, because these aren't food animals.
Exactly. And their eggs were being used for antibody viral therapeutic research, which even before it was on RFK Jr.'s radar, he had already said, we want to move away from the leaky vaccines, was the word he used, for mRNA technology, which is what Moderna's
right. So these birds, they're not for leather, they're not for meat, they're not for eggs, they are for testing an alternative to the mRNA vaccine.
Therapeutics, which is exactly what RFK Jr. said they want to shift into. We're looking at things for the avian flu.
It would not surprise me if that was the motivation here.
Right. So that was the U.S.'s motivation for getting involved. And then, well, what is Canada's motivation for not saving this research? And that's why the overlap with the trucker convoy is there too, because it's about this big pharma loyalty, it seems.
Now, you've been here, and I feel like walking around you, you're like the mayor of this place. I mean, everyone respects your journalism. You've spoken to almost everybody here. I think you've really helped spread the word internationally. How many stories have you done? Probably 20.
Oh my gosh, see? It's
Or maybe
60.
more. 60?
60 stories.
Whoa.
For 9 months I've been covering this story.
Well, you know what? Just like Rebel News was the champion of the truckers, and we helped tell the world the story. 60 stories. I'm sorry I undercounted so much.
It was funny because at one point Ezra put the story in Slack, and he was like, Drea, have you seen this? And I've been covering it for months,
I'm so
Ezra.
sorry.
That's
You know what? I try and we've got so much journalism going on, but you were having such an impact and having some fun. I thought I got to come and check it out with my own eyes. And Rebel News is beloved here because they're not getting a fair shake from the CBC. They're not getting a fair shake from a lot of institutions. And so it is Rebel News that is getting their side of the story. That's our motto, telling the other side of the story.
Telling the other side of the story. And what I love is that there's so many just everyday people, which I feel like that's who I am. I feel like Rebel just gave me a mic. And I'm seeing other people here too, and everybody's got their cameras out. And what's happening with this almost nonpartisan issue you see here is people are finding everybody. They're finding Rebel News for the first time because they want to know the other side of the story to these ostriches. And I think it was CTE made the fatal error of saying that Katie was live streaming. They said, oh, and she keeps live streaming. And then sure enough, her live stream went way up the next day. So I think that these birds have the power to break through the echo chamber too, which is something we've been, that has been the key to get other people to go, hey, Rebel's talking about things the mainstream media isn't. And mainstream media let me think they found a sick bird here the other day, which is what was out.
Well, because the bird was injured, because the RCMP flew a drone, spooked the bird, it got in trouble. And the way I saw that headline, it was phrased as if the bird was sick instead of injured by the cops.
The CFIA, and intentionally it seems, would just say it's injured. And the mainstream media, which should know the background, should know that the farmers already said there was an injured bird. So, the value of people finding everyday people talking about this, showing what's really happening, and Rebel News, I think, and you don't even know how measurable that is.
I'm so glad you're here. Part of me wants to hope that it will have a happy ending, but I've lived through COVID 2019, and I know that so many attempts at compromise or reason have failed. So many lawsuits were thrown out by the courts. And I don't want to be pessimistic because where there's life, there's hope. But and it's a miracle that these birds have survived so long because and the cops have been here for weeks already. I mean, just millions of dollars. I don't know. Are you optimistic? I mean, I just don't know why a judge doesn't say, just test them. Just test them because they're all healthy. And if they're not, okay, now we have a new fact. But we believe, we understand all these birds are healthy, have been for almost 10 months.
These birds are over 260 days healthy and asymptomatic. And you're right, it is a miracle. So the journalist in me is, it's pretty grim. But I keep coming here. And every time I come here, it's because you think the birds are going to die and they're alive. So I'm rooting for the miracle. But you're right. I think the biggest red flag is the fact that the CFIA hasn't gained it yet. The fact that they've had, even David Eby at one point saying something. We had the Green Party saying, why are you testing? The fact that they know everybody is looking at this agency and say, why won't you test them? And they still have it is very concerning.
I tell you, she's doing a great job, and we actually got a camper for her to stay in, like an RV and a Starlink. Now you see there's a lot of signs around, and I took a little stroll down the alley because there's some wonderful signs. They're all homemade. This really is a grassroots movement, and I have to say it reminds me a little bit of the truckers in 2022. Very, very interesting. I had a lot of chats with a lot of great people, and they love Rebel News and they love Drea simply because we're telling the other side of the story, and that is our motto. And the CBC is outrageous in their propaganda. They're liars, and it's interesting to hear the farm say so. Here's my conversation with the boss of the farm earlier today.
Break within the RCMP are starting to see after the week that this has been in progress. There's something wrong here.
But they,
I heard your statement. I know, and I believe that too, which is so wrong. This is wrong. What RCMP stands here is to protect the Canadian Food Inspection Agency.
Yeah.
And they made it very clear with you, didn't they?
Yeah, they are sort of the bodyguards for the CFIA. They're not here for the people, and I asked them about mischief done by the CFIA. They basically said, not our job.
Yeah, it's not funny how we pass jurisdiction. We just keep passing off. Yeah, nobody's above the CFIA. Nobody, the CFIA is untouchable. And there's a problem here in Canada.
The size of this operation, police-wise, they wouldn't say how many police are here. Yeah. One cop said 30 minimum. It's more than that. I can see 30 in effect right now.
Yeah, not the command
center. And then there's the staging area where This is an enormous operation that is clearly in the millions of dollars.
Yes.
Think about the overtime pay, let alone the hotels, the meals, the per diems.
LOA, that an hour and a half from the city that they're traveling.
Yeah.
And then now how many RCMP are sitting in Vernon right now for these shift changes?
It's
then the fuel and the barricades and the military operation of the drone jammers and the...
Is that what those were? Those
That's
strange
what they're-
devices?
Yeah, back there, and then there's some underneath camouflage netting that they're hiding.
Yeah.
Big telescopic devices. They have ladders going in and out of the kill box.
None of that has anything to do with public health. All of that has everything to do with public policy and politics and optics. Those bales of hay's got nothing to do with medical.
That's
It's all about, and those hazmat suits, that theatrical.
Theatrical
theater,
optics.
Health theater,
Yes.
and that's why it's a flashback for COVID times. Arbitrary, dramatic, scare everybody, but underneath it, no science. Very
No.
frustrating.
And we're watching punishment. This is punishment.
The process is the
Theatrical
punishment.
and this is punishment. This isn't justice. And I think that's what I said to the ostriches have become beacons of hope, and a lot of Canadians and people around the world after COVID can see themselves in these animals. Quarantine.
I was in Texas
isolated,
2 days ago. They said, "What's up
silenced.
with those ostriches?"
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
in America, they're saying, "What's going on up
What's
there?"
going on with those ostriches?
And not in a
Why
good way.
won't they test them?
This is not a
This
good
is
look
not
for
good
Canada.
I said to John Catsimatidis out of New York, we were on the radio yesterday, and said, if this is allowed in Canada and this actually happens, this is a warning for the rest of the world.
Well, it's ostriches today. It's your pet tomorrow.
Absolutely. And they're doing pets already with the 2007, we just talked to a farmer. They killed everything. They killed her dogs. They killed her cats. They killed everything. And that's in 2007 because the Stamping Up policy has been in effect for 21 years. They've been left unchecked for 21 years operating in this manner. So again, we need to see the dismantle of Canadian Food Inspection Agency and a rebuild from the ground up with an organization that Canadians can trust.
You know, in just outside Niagara Falls, there's something called Marine Land.
Yeah.
And there's all these belugas.
Yeah.
And there was a aquarium that wanted to buy them, but the Canadian government said no. They're basically going to be culled also. I don't understand what's going on.
Why are we so willing? Why are we so excited to kill? Yeah, and this is, again, we need a proactive government, not a reactive government, and this is reactive. And I think we need a proactive approach to how we address these problems, and we need true leadership to push that.
Now, do you feel like you have any allies, either legally or politically?
Yeah, the Trump administration. Isn't that interesting? We've gotten way more support internationally than we have within our own government. It's taken 10 months to have our conservative government really come to the forefront and have Rustad speak on this. We had Mel Arnold. I want to give a shout out. I don't want to discredit Scott Anderson, our MP. He's done an incredible job, really trying, but he's limited to his abilities, right? We've had our MLAs, the independents, Dallas Brody, Tara Armstrong, and Jordan Keeley step up first and bring this into the legislature, which was absolutely fantastic, and use their question. But again, the independents get one question every 3 weeks. Why are they limited? And again, this just goes to show the hierarchy within the government levels. And we're protecting the Canadian Poultry Association. So the Canadian Poultry Association is so protected because of supply chain management that they are holding the master key to this. And that is wrong. We need to dismantle that as well. And all levels of the same agricultural sector deserve the same amount of protection, not one area. And that goes with our cattle farmers, our dairy farmers, and all of our fresh produce farmers and our backyard farms. It's, we're all up for culling. Yeah.
Last question. Thanks very much for talking with me. I heard earlier that the CBC was doing coverage that you found was unethical.
Yeah.
Are there any allies you have other than citizen journalists and independent media? Have you had any media in the mainstream or even over in other countries that you feel have championed your cause?
Absolutely. New York Post, Washington
Really?
Post.
Oh, really?
We've had John Catsimatidis in the WABC radio station, and everybody goes, they're so puzzled on how did you get connected with John Catsimatidis and how did this happen? And it's because he's a huge animal welfare advocate, and we developed that relationship through his booker. I was only on his radio station for a few minutes, then that few minutes was another few minutes. That led into a relationship because we believe that these animals deserve the right to be tested, and he has an amazing strong voice. But I would believe that it's the Trump administration. We have where is PETA? Where are these animal activists? Because right now I'd like to say that probably at this farm, we are the largest animal advocates in Canada, because we're using our voices to stand up for the animals that are being abused behind us.
Now, the three media you listed are all American. Has there been any mainstream support from Canadian media?
Yeah, so we've got coverage from CBC, CTV, and Global News.
But has it been fair?
I want to give a shout out to Global News. Yeah, Global News has done a very fair, description of what's going on here. CTV, shame on you. CTV will not, they will only get public statements from me at this point, and that is from our farm, because they went on to create the division, the oldest tool in the toolbox. So while we're fighting for such an amazing cause for Canadians, they were creating division with a group of 26 people from our local town and letting them film them and show that they're making statements like they're living near Chernobyl and living that, that they're in fear for their fear. We have been, you drive down 10 miles into Edgewood. It is peaceful, it is kind. We've done nothing but support the general store and be supportive over locals. Yes, there's been an Edgewood hate group. That is not being discussed. The Edgewood Hate Group has put out there that they were going to burn us out. That they have a sniper. There's a sniper group,
and they call themselves the hate group, right?
They call themselves the hate group, and the RCMP that's down behind us will not investigate this. We've reported them, and it's just grown into something so crazy. I've had death threats that I'm going to be ran off the road, that I'm never going to be seen again. And for what?
Shot ostriches.
Shot ostriches, right? We've had 2 ostriches that have been shot with no true, what do you call it? Investigation. So we still have the head of the rooster, as they asked us, frozen in the freezer on the quarantine site with the hole and the slit throat with an exit hole. And that head is still sitting there. They never looked for casings, they never followed up. So it's okay. There's so many levels of this that isn't okay, but it's okay to have this happening and not follow up. But
look at people. I mean, I'm talking to people from all over the country here. Yeah. So you've captured the imagination. I don't know what you think of this comparison, but the last time I felt sort of a festival feeling, grassroots, organic, solidarity. I felt that at the Trucker Convoy in 2022. I don't know what you think of that comparison, but there's something going on here. What is it?
We're igniting hope back in Canadians. We're reminding Canadians that they have a voice, and we're reminding Canadians that, I get told all the time, it's like, I'm one person, what can I do? And then they see the one person show up and another person show up, and it's in numbers that we can create change. If we all speak up, we use our businesses, we use our voice just to say, no, we don't need to wait for the government to make the changes that we all deserve. And I think that it's a lot of hope. These ostriches became a beacon of hope, and they're a really odd and strange animal that have become the catalyst in the journey for change. But at the end of the day, I think this is what Canada is about. It's coming in to protect your brothers and your sisters, and our farmers deserve that protection, just like the truckers, just like the healthcare workers that were hailed heroes and then they were victimized or villainized. And here they are, they're trying to do it to the agricultural sector now. We're not going to let us fall. So we're going to stand up for us.
Well, thanks very much for everything you do.
Yeah, thanks. You've done a fantastic job showing an unbiased approach to on the both sides, because this isn't just about us being right. This is about, if they're doing something right, they should be shown for doing something right. Yeah. The problem is they're really failing in that. And I don't think they even know their own policy.
Well, thank you guys.
They don't know their own protocols, and this is the first time that the visual aspect, that they've actually been put under the microscope and they're being watched, and they're failing. And you know what? The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, we are going to hold you accountable, and the world is going to hold you accountable, because the world is watching, the world's going to continue to watch, and that change is going to happen here at Universal Ostrich Farms.
Well, that's my report from the ground here in Edgewood, British Columbia. I really enjoyed the trip. I flew from Toronto to Kelowna, rented a car, drove, and I have to do the whole thing in reverse because I've got to get back to our world headquarters. But our friend Drea will continue, and in the days ahead, Sydney Fizzard will be joining from Calgary, and then Sheila Gunn-Reid will be coming down early next week. So we intend to follow this story to its conclusion. We have a few tricks up our sleeve too that I'm not going to divulge now, but you'll see them, I hope, journalistically in the days and weeks ahead. There's something very wrong in Canada when you have 30, 40, 50 police taken off of fighting crime and put onto fighting ostriches who are completely healthy. There's something super wrong when the government says you may not even test your own birds with your own money. There's something super wrong about that. There's something super weird about this whole thing. And people here know it, and it makes them uncomfortable. What is this a test run for? I've seen different theories, and that's the thing. Speculation abounds because the government is so non-transparent. They're so opaque. Translation, they're lying to you. We're going to keep on the story. My friend Drea Humphrey will lead our coverage. Others in the Rebel team will circulate through. If you want to help cover Drea's camper van, she's got an RV with a Starlink and other expenses of just being here, food, water, whatever, go to savetheostriches.com. All right, I'm going to go back to Toronto now, but I will not put my head in the sand. Goodbye, everybody.